Hello, thank you for clicking on the video. As you can see, we're talking about the WaterBoy today. Now, as per usual, if you don't like spoilers and you never saw the WaterBoy, you should jump off of here, go watch it, and then come back. If you don't care, then we move on. Now, I'm gonna be completely honest. I pivoted. Okay, I made such a large pivot. When it came to talking about this movie, I had no plans on ever talking about this movie, but for some reason, I was, looking through, actually, I was going to a TV show and I saw the movie, and for some reason, I just clicked on it. I don't know why. Don't get me wrong. I like The Waterboy. I like Adam Sandler films in general, like, mainly, before the newer ones. I haven't watched any of his newer stuff, for real, for real. But, he used to come out with some bangers, point blank period. And Waterboy was one of them. And boy, was it such a watch. I haven't seen it in years, so watching it was just like, wow. We come in and everybody is treating him, I'm gonna use this word, but I don't mean it to be offensive. I'm just saying it because of how they was acting, okay? And for the time they was even using the word, okay? But they was treating him like he was retarded. Okay, and he was far from it. Like, Bobby was actually pretty smart. We'll get to that, right? Like, but he's doing the Waterboy thing for this college football team. Before we continue, this is college football, and everybody look to be like mid 30s to late 40s. Like, nobody looked like they was actually in college. All of these motherfuckers looked old as hell. It pissed me off because I thought it was just normal football at first, and then it never registered to me, like, when I watched it when I was younger, because I was a kid. Like, when you watch movies and you don't really pay attention to the detail, it never crossed my mind that he was going to these college classes because he was dealing with college football when I was a kid. So watching it now, actually paying attention to, like, the details, and, like, oh, now it makes sense why he's in this class. This is college football. All of these motherfuckers look out. None of it was believable at all. Like, no. But they are being so rude to him, mad disrespectful. They hate him. Apparently he had been, bringing water to, mind you, he doing this out of the kindness of his heart because he want people to be hydrated. That's it. He had no malicious intent. He just wanted people to have good water, and they hated him for that. And I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think it had anything to do with him being slow. I don't think it had to do with him, being there when they didn't want him there. I think they could sense that there was something special about him, and they just didn't like it because it irritated their dark side, right? Like, it's like his light irritated their demons type energy, right? And you see that over the course of the movie. Like, they would, the way that they was acting towards him was so unnecessary. So the coach fires him at the beginning of the movie, and he goes around trying to get, a new job to be a water boy, and he ends up at this college, and he saw the state of their watering. Oh Lord, he saw the state of where they got their water from, and he said, you ain't gotta pay me, I will just come and give you water because I can't believe that you trying to give people that. Like, fair enough. Like, it don't even matter if you are someone who cares that much about water like Bobby did. Nobody should have been drinking out of that tub. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you need to go and watch the movie. You need to know. I'm not gonna describe it. It was very disgusting, okay? But yeah, so he like, you ain't gotta pay me. I'm gonna be here, right? And so when he was doing the water boying at the other college, he was about to attack a dude for spitting in his water stuff before he was a kid. And the coach was like, hey, that's my main guy on this team. You hurt him, I'm gonna hurt you. Don't you ever do no stuff like that. I don't care what they do to you. And he was like, cool. So that terrified him. So when the people was doing that on this team as well, like the dude spit in his stuff. And he was about to do something, but that's when we get the flashback, right? And so he stopped himself. Like, okay, I ain't gonna do nothing. And the coach is like, you ain't gonna do nothing? And he was like, no, I wasn't gonna do nothing. He's like, you better do something. And so he attacked the dude. And you know what? Fair enough. He should have. But that was the moment they knew they needed him on that team. And I love that he was like, yeah, I'll be a part of the team. But he was like, I'm still bringing water for everybody, though. Don't worry about it. And so he's on the team. Let me just point this out. So the coach for this team, he like had a mental break or whatever. And we see later on why, the guy from the other team, he stole all his plays. He stole his playbook when they was like younger. And, dude had a mental break. Like he just had psychosis after, I guess. I think psychosis is the word I'm looking for. And so he would have his moments where he was just like acting a little weird. And what is so funny about it is every time Bobby Boucher was side-eyeing the hell out of him like, bro, you're insane. You're crazy. But whatever gets you through the day, I guess. Like, and it's so funny because he's so judgmental and you're sitting up here hallucinating, these different mean moments so that you can knock the shit out of these people. So the way you judging somebody else for being crazy and you're acting crazy too is crazy to me. Like, it was so funny. But yeah, he gets his motivation from hallucinating these different people saying mean things to him or doing mean things to him or whatever, right? And it's so interesting because the team that, like, when he first gets on the team, like, the people he's hallucinating is from the other team, the first college, okay? And I just have to say, that whole team in general, like, this team learns to accept Bobby, realizes he's much more than just some slow guy who likes to give people water, and, allow him the space to come into his own. And even though they bully him at first, they do, just be like, okay, you're a part of the team eventually. Right? They never did that at the first place that he was at. And he was there for years, okay? He was there since he was a kid. We literally see that. And that whole team they were bullies. And they were bullies because the coach was a bully. Like, this man literally walks into the Coach Clive's room or whatever, apartment, whatever, and say, hey, you gonna give me your playbook? Either way, like, you either gonna hand it to me all nice and sweet right here and right now, or I'm gonna knock your ass out right here and right now and take it. Like, what type of weirdo shit is you want? What you mean? Like, when I saw that part, I was like, boy, you just gonna take that? And he did. And then he turned around standing in heels with the phone that wasn't even plugged in, talking to his grandmother about how upset he was. And that was where the mental breakdown started, right? But that guy was such a bully, and so much so that even to the very end, he was a bully. Like, you see that Bobby is doing something with himself. Now, you ain't want him around you, but now he's making a name for himself by himself and with this other team, and now you have to go out of your way to ruin that. Fair enough, the transcript was fake. Bobby didn't do it, the coach did it. And so they got that worked out and figured out, and you still lost to him anyway. So you went through all of that trouble to be an asshole just to lose. Like, ridiculous to me, right? And it goes into what I was saying. Like, I'm finna pivot a little bit to bring in about the mom, right? So, like I was saying, they just tried to dim him as much as possible, like, where they could, okay? And the mom was doing that as well. When I was first watching the movie, I was like, oh, this is giving Handler vibes, right? But when you see it progresses, when she comes to the realization, okay, like, well, she knew her son was special. She always felt like her son was special. You know, she just didn't want to share him with the world. But when she realized that everybody else could truly see how special she knew he was as well, you know, she actually was genuinely happy for him, right? But her trauma forced her to really dumb that boy down and dim that boy down in a ridiculous amount. Like that first scene when he's in that college class. By the way, little side note, that Professor Colonel, he was going through it. He got his ass beat by Bobby and then like was constantly getting knocked upside the head throughout the rest of the movie. Like, poor man. But he embarrasses himself in that first day because his mom has told him all of this BS that's not true, because his mom just doesn't know the truth, right? Like, she don't know, so she just tell him what she think is best for him to know to keep him under her wing. Basically, she don't want to kick him out the nest, right? And she ends up making him out to be slower than he is, because if he was actually, okay, there was a point when he invited Vicky over for a barbecue and they're talking, and she was talking about a psychic or something like that, and saying how basic and generic her advice was, or her information was. He was like, well, maybe she said it, maybe she gives such a broad perspective because she don't want to be seen as a fraud that she is, which is not something a dumbass would fucking say. You know what I mean? Like, he clearly had some common sense. He had some cognitive awareness that he was able to make out that this woman is playing around, playing games, you know? And we also see he's able to pass a test. And they literally said, like, it was somebody on the team, like, they was like, most of the people in this damn locker room wouldn't have been able to pass that test. And I think he had got like a 97 on that test or something like that. You know, they said it so quick that I can't really remember exactly what the score was, but I'm pretty sure she had, like, Vicky had said he had got a 97 on it or something like that. So he got a really high score on a very hard test. And, you know, that's not something a slow person, like I said, would do. Like, that's not something a retard would do, right? You know, so he was not actually stupid at all. He just was misinformed, and his mom was a big part of that. And she literally just called everything the devil when she didn't want him. Like, if it was something that seemed like he would go off and, you know, find more interest in, she would call it the devil. We see him tell the story of him first meeting Vicky, and she says, oh, you need to stay away from girls because they're the devil, right? Mind you, Vicky has been down for this boy since they was kids. I loved Vicky's character. We'll get more into her in a second. But, yeah, she played such a large role in how others were perceiving this boy because he didn't know any better. So he was just going based off of what she told him. Also, it's so funny because I'm just not thinking of it right now. It was a point when he calls this, like, TV show and asks the dude if he need a WaterBoy, and he was like, oh yeah, I'm 31. Which is funny because I just said that all of these people was in college and none of them looked like college kids. Ironically enough, Adam Sandler looked like he belonged there a little bit more than a lot of the other motherfuckers on them teams. Both teams, right? But it's funny because he's openly a 31-year-old man in the movie, and he's going to college with these people who is supposed to be probably between the ages of 18 and 25. It depends on what type of classes they're taking, but these people are, you know, on scholarships for football, so they're supposed to be young, and y'all look older than this boy, and he's openly a 31-year-old. Like, ridiculous. But yeah, so the mom has this trauma that he will leave her and being alone because his dad did that to her, and so she projected that onto Bobby, right? This is my issue because she showed Bobby this scrapbook. And the first picture is this dude she was just messing around with at one point. And he like, oh, I was like, is this my dad? And she was like, no, that's just a little tink I had, you know. He was fine or whatever. And she say, turn the page. Yeah. Y'all, the man she chose to marry, the man who did her wrong, yo, if you never saw the movie, go watch the movie. You'll see what I'm talking about. And honestly, like, that's why you just, sometimes you shouldn't give the guy a chance depending on, you know, certain factors, because it be them motherfuckers. It be them motherfuckers like Bobby's dad who turned out to be pieces of shit, which he turned out to be. This man went down to New Orleans to try and get a better paying job so he could support him and his family. And within 3 letters was leaving this woman. Within 6 weeks, he said, I don't want you no more. I'm going to be with this voodoo woman. And he changed his name to Roberto. This man was cockeyed, like, very, like, he was a little slow. Like, he looked like he was a little slow. And, you know, you say that you care so much about your family. In the moment you're not around them, you get too much dip on your chips, sir. Like, and then Bobby was very young when this happened. He had to have just been born or, like, barely toddler age because he don't even remember his dad. So you just skipped out the very moment that you could. Like, what was you doing down there that you got distracted that fast that you went down there to get money and then turned around and said, I'm gone. Good luck to you. And that's why I agree with the mama, you know, boofing his ass at the end when his ass showed up talking about, oh, Bobby, you going to the NFL? No. And even if he was, do you really think you got a free ticket? No. Fuck off. Like, and yo, Bobby more like his mama than his daddy for sure, because the way she booted him at the end, and then Bobby just like, good job, mama. Crazy. And speaking of, you know, family, let's talk about Vicky a little bit. She was W girlfriend. I think that she claimed Bobby from the moment she saw him when they was kids. She was always up in his face. Every time she was not in jail, she was with Bobby. I'm telling you. She went to jail a lot. In fact, when we first see her appear, she was just getting out of jail. And she popped up on Bobby like, hey, I got out. And I heard you, you know, playing football. Wanted to come congratulate you. See how you was doing. And then she fixed this, what is it? A mower? She fixed it up so that it was zooming. Okay? So she hooked him up real quick and was like, I had to come check on my man. And that's what she did. Like, she always had his back. When he went to go take the test, she didn't know what the situation was, but she like, hey, you want me to take them out for you? And he was like, no, go, let me take this test. She was like, I got you. You got this. Like, I loved her down. But I feel like she was always going to be, you know, Mrs. Boucher. Okay, I think she was always a perfect fit for not just Bobby, but for the family dynamic in general. Now, mind you, I mentioned that Bobby invited her over for a barbecue. And, you know, she went. The mama couldn't stand her. And it was only because she didn't want him dating anybody. It didn't matter who it was. The mama just didn't want him with anybody in general. And so that's why she didn't like her, right? But she fit in. She didn't complain about the food that they was eating like little baby alligators or something like that. And she didn't complain. You know, she's like openly like, I like your son. They got along very well. And her and the mom had a similar vibe. And they both cared about Bobby. The only difference I feel like was there was the mom cared but wanted him to herself. She didn't want him to go and be experienced by other people because she was scared that if other people was able to experience him, he would find more comfort in them, just like the dad did out in New Orleans. But he loves his mom. Like, when they win that championship, his winning words is, "I love my mama." Like, so it was never a competition between you, and she, like I said, she just was allowing her traumas to pull him back. On the other hand, Vicky cared about him and wanted to see him thrive immediately. She knew that he had something special within him and something special to give to the world, and she always encouraged him to just be whoever you are, 100% open to the world. And so that's where the difference came in. And that is another reason why the mom did not like Vicky at first, because she's like, "You're encouraging him to leave me. I don't want to be left on this damn farm in this bayou by my damn self with this horse that keeps eating everything." like that's how she felt about it. And so it was just, that's where the butting heads come in. But when she finally accepted Bobby going out into the world and becoming who he is or whatever, when they get married, she literally says, "I was dreading this day, but you got yourself an amazing wife," right? So she's like, she knew Vicky fit in well with the dynamic of who they were. She just didn't want him to be with anybody because, that's my baby boy. But no, like that, it was very toxic boy mom type of this woman pretended to be sick, pretended to be in a coma. She didn't even do a good job at pretending to be in a coma. And he just sat there for multiple days, thinking that she's sick and, saying, "Oh, well, I'm just gonna stay by your side." And you're happy, you're smiling this entire time that he's willing to just throw away his dreams, his life, to sit beside your bed, and you're not even sick. You're not even talking to him. You're not doing nothing. You just don't want him to be out. That shit pissed me off. It really pissed me off, because the amount of people that will go out of their way to try and put you down when there's obviously like some type of calling on your life is crazy. And it be the ones that's closest to you that do it. And his mama was one of them. I'm glad that, she was able to turn it around and be like, "Okay, I can't keep holding on this tightly because I am ultimately doing a disservice to you." But there are so many scenarios where people in your life that's supposed to want to see you succeed, parents, siblings, cousins, friends, whatever, the people who are supposed to want to see you succeed, they will turn around and be like, "Oh, I see something special in you and I want it to myself, so I'm just make you feel like there's only this much, this box, this space," right? And I hate it. I actually hate it, But yeah, that's pretty much all that I wanted to say. Besides the fact that they exploited Bobby's frustrations, right? They exploited his anger to be able to get what he wanted. Now, ultimately, he was like, "I just want to make friends," and I don't remember what the dude's name was, but the first dude that Bobby talked to on that football team, the one he shared the helmet with at first, like, he was so nice to him. And even when everybody thought that, Bobby was just a cheater to get into college or whatever, like, he didn't think that. He just was like, there's nothing I can really do about this situation, so it's like, I have to, go off over here. But he didn't have a problem with Bobby. He wasn't angry at Bobby. He never bullied Bobby. He was really genuinely Bobby's first friend, and I loved that. But I didn't like how his frustrations and inner angst was exploited. Now, he didn't mind it being exploited because he, he cared about the people around him. Even if they were making fun of him, even if they had a problem with him, he cared. He wanted them to be good. He wanted them to be all right. And so he's like, all right, well, they said. And when he knocked down the professor and they all pulled him back, he was like, no, Coach Clive said I can do this. Coach Clive said I can do this. Like, boy, he meant on the field. Like, you don't tackle your professor because you disagree with what he said. To be fair, though, the professor was laughing in his face and talking mad shit about his mom. It wasn't mad shit, but he was talking about his mama. So, fair game, I suppose. I don't know. Like, it was fair, I suppose. But yeah, he I think allowed himself to be an inspiration to others, but the way that it started was not, it wasn't the best way to start something, right? Because it's like, well, you were doing this because of how angry you are and how angry you've been, right? So you were letting your past transgressions that you weren't able to get out before out. And they're like, oh yeah, I can use this, right? Like, the coach literally, he, before he goes out on the field at one point, he didn't know if Bobby had anything to be mad about. So he was like, hey, Gatorade's better than water, and was like, now use that on the field. You got this. Picture my face and ram it. Like, boy, you're crazy. Like, everybody on that team began to hallucinate, which is crazy to me as well. But I think that the WaterBoy in general is a great underdog story, and it was a good movie. I loved the films that Adam Sandler used to put out. Like I said, I haven't really watched too many of his newer stuff, so I don't know how good his newer stuff is, but he was putting out some bangers after bangers after bangers. And yeah, I will always appreciate him for that. With that being said, if you made it this far in the video, I know it's a long ass video, but I want to first say thank you. I appreciate you for watching. I also would like you to tell me, if you have seen The WaterBoy, what was one of your favorite moments in the movie? If I forgot anything in this video, I probably will make a reel about it. I don't know. I think I said everything I had to say. With that being said, feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. There is so much more on the way. And until next time, bye.